This gotta be capped because I think this fluctuates year to year because Manhattan is not the safest place. They said avoid these 6 dangerous New York neighborhoods in 2024. I drive taxi, so if I say it's good to go, it's good to go. And a lot of time people get caught up in stuff is because of they're involved with crime and stuff like that. But when the innocent is being attacked, then you know it's a dangerous situation. So it says avoid these 6 dangerous New York City neighborhoods. And a lot of time they want to buy up a neighborhood. They put stuff like information like this out to throw people off so the property value could go down and they could come in. Oh, I forgot to say, good morning. Yeah. Anyway, if you think it's dangerous freezing cold in New York City right now. At this time right now, it's like 27 degrees. Can you imagine what it's like in England? Anyway, New York City is one of the most famous cities. Let me start that back over. New York City is one of the most famous cities in the United States of the world. In fact, it's arguably one of the most city in the world. New York City is known for the Never Sleeps, is known for the Big Apple. Many people around of the world flock to New York City to visit the sites and the tourist attractions. I don't know what those are. However, like all cities, New York City has an ugly side. That's just with anywhere. There are good parts and the bad part. Let's take a look down the 6 dangerous New York City neighborhoods in 2024 that you should avoid. They're dangerous, but people are making money in these neighborhoods. I wonder who's putting this article together. Anyway, Hunts Point. Back in when Giuliani was in power, Hunts Point used to be like heavy on crime, prostitution, and all that stuff. But it's not like that no more. It got actually developed, and it's way better and way safer now, if you ask me. So the medium, and nobody used to want to live down in Hunts Point because there was a lot of prostitution and shit like that down there. But it's not like that no more. So the median income in Hunts Point is only $23,000, which is one of the poorest in the country. Stop the cap. I remember when rent was dirt cheap, but you can't even afford to live down by Hunts Point right now because it's well developed. The 41 precinct of the New York Police Department is in charge of paroling Hunts Point. Historically, Hunts Point has been a neighborhood that has seen a lot of crime. It's one of the poorest neighborhoods in New York. Word. See, they're one of the poorest congressional districts in the United States. Although the 90s saw, like I mentioned, a higher crime rate, violent crime, and it's still ramped in Hunts Point. The murder rate in Hunts Point is 15.8 per 100,000 residents, which is most 3 times high as the national murder rate. The assault rate is 2,112 per 100,000 residents, which is extremely high. Sex trafficking is also high in Hunts Point and concerns city by official. That means the bum ass police is not doing their freaking job, and them people ain't ratting. And it can't be that bad if so much people live there. Brownsville, Brooklyn. Brownsville is located in eastern Brooklyn. The 73rd precinct of the New York Police Department is in charge of Brownsville. Historically, Brownsville has been dubbed as a murder capital in New York City. The 73rd precinct has ranked as the 69 safest out of the 69 precincts. Yeah, them police is eating them donuts. That's why it's safe there. That's why 2009, when Brownsville has turned murders per 10,000 residents, although crime has fallen in the past decade, they are still above average. The assault rate in 2019 is 100,000 per resident, which is much higher than the national average. And the murder rate is still 9 per 100,000 residents, which is just a tad higher than the national average. Mount Haven. Back to the Bronx. So Mount Haven, which is located in the southern western area of the Bronx. The 48th precinct of the New York Police Department is in charge of Mount Haven. It's historically been one of the worst neighborhoods in New York City based on the crime of the 90s. Crime, let me tell you something. The 90s was nothing to play around with. Now, crime has actually calmed down. If it's not the 90s and they're comparing and contrasting right now, it's definitely not the same thing. So it has historically been one of the worst neighborhoods in the New York City based on the crimes of the 90s. Crimes were rampant, however, the good things is that crime has decreased over the past 30 years. So it's not safe. Unfortunately, crime is still high. Mount Avon experiences 2,277 assault crimes per 100,000 residents. It also experiences 11 murders, 100,000 residents, which is almost twice the national average. Midtown, Manhattan. Now, you would think this is the safest place because this is where they make all their bread. But unfortunately, they don't report a lot of stuff that happens in Manhattan. There are many tourist sites that's located in Midtown, including the Empire State, WAC, building, National Headquarters, Grand Central, WAC, Terminal, and Rockefeller Center. Okay. Anyway, Midtown is divided into two NYPD precincts. The 18th precinct in the north and the 14th precinct in the south. Let me tell you something. Manhattan is crawling with police, so you wouldn't even want to try because you ain't going to get within 2 blocks. The crime per capita associated with Midtown is higher because of the low population of crime towards tourists are higher than the rest of the city. New York City in the 90s was riddled with crime. Luckily, over the past decade, NYPD community officers have ensured crime has gone down overall, though assault rate remains much higher than the national average at 1,142 per 100,000 residents, and theft rate is a whopping 8,102 per 100,000 residents. The amount of 4 times is the amount to the 4 times the national average. So like I said before, if we were comparing contrasting from the 90s to now, crime is actually low. East Harlem is known for the Spanish Harlem, El Barrio by the locals. The 2 precincts in charge of the patrol in the East Harlem is the 25th precinct and the 23rd precinct of the New York Police Department. Crime in the 90s was rampant again, but luckily in the past 30 years, crime has decreased by a whopping 62%. It's all thanks to the community efforts to ensure a safer East Harlem. However, assault rate in East Harlem sets at 1,592 out of 100,000 residents, which is still much higher than the national average. The murder rate is at par with the nation's 5.7 murder per 100,000 residents. And you know a lot of this, even though I don't like this sucker, I gotta give him credit. Giuliani is responsible for bringing a lot of this crime rate down, especially in the Hunts Point area. Bedford-Stuyvesant, Brooklyn. The neighborhood of Bedford-Stuyvesant is located in Brooklyn. The 79th and 81st precinct of the New York Police Department serves the neighborhood of Bedford-Stuyvesant. Although neighborhood has relatively high median income, crime is still unusually high than most neighborhoods in New York City. The assault rate is 1,347 per 100,000 residents, which is much higher than the average in the nation. I wonder what's safe. What number is safe? As for the murder rate, it sits at 10 per 100,000 residents, which is almost double the nation's average. The robbery rate is also higher than the country average, and it sits at 335 per 100,000 residents. Now, I would like to see what they would consider safe, because a lot of things happen in other neighborhoods, it's just not reported. All right?